Okay, we're about to do a classical guitar restring. Some of the things I have laid out here before we start. Obviously you need some new strings. And first off, what I do with all my guitars, because I got a lot of guitars and I gotta have an idea of what has gotten restrung and when. So this guitar's name is Olivia. And the last time it had new strings was November 9th, 2019. And today it's actually November 28th, 2021. So this will be our new set of strings here. You can open these up. And we're going to save this and put it, I like to put these in the case just so I have a good idea of when I restring them and how often I have to restring them. So that's good. And I'm using the Pro Arte Diodario normal tensions. Also, it's good to have wire cutters. You're going to need those. A string winder. This is a combination of both. What I'm going to do for speed purposes is I have a drill bit that has a string winder on the end of it. So that's going to be super fast because on classical guitars, it takes forever to turn these things. Anyways, also some guitar polish for the body of the guitar. And then once all the strings are off, we're going to have some polish for the neck. And I use paper towel because it's a little bit abrasive and I can polish the neck really easily. And as you see, the main reason I'm changing the strings on this guitar is because, oh, I broke a string. And secondly, I mean, you can see, if you look really close, you can see when the strings get older, they get blemishes. So that's a good indicator. A lot of times I'll just wait until I break a string, but if the strings are noticeably looking old and they just sound dead, then I think it's going to be time to change the string. Alright, and then a nice microfiber cloth for the body, and when we get down to that. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take all these strings off before we start cleaning it. I'm just going to tilt this on its side. Make sure I'm going looser. Clockwise is looser. Alright, so that's done. So I'm just going to clip these at the end here. I could have done this initially, but I like to do it this way. It's just a little bit easier. Done. And it's like super easy. Obviously, I will teach you how to do these little loops in here. Now this piece is loose right here. Big deal. Just keep it in there. Obviously the new strings will hold this down. If you're a classical guitarist and you got fingernails, there's another use for them, is getting these older strings out. I'm going to actually take this piece out. I'm just going to set it aside. You can actually see where the grooves are. The thicker string's obviously going to have a thicker groove, and the thinner string, well, there's hardly a groove at all. So don't get confused if you're putting it backwards. Another good indicator too is this side is more flat and this side's rounded. The flat side's going to be facing towards the headstock. Right, now we're going to polish her up. You don't really need too many sprays, but hey, it's been a while. It's good to pamper your guitars, you know? I mean, geez, could you imagine not having a shower for like 2 years? Alright, so we got the body is all straightened out. So we're going to do our lemon oil, which is for the fretboard. I've had this guitar for a while, so it's probably not going to need too much. You can kind of, you can squeeze it as it's going across the frets here. So I got my paper towel. Like I said, it's abrasive. You can get any finger junk off. Kind of spreads the lemon oil around. Actually use a new one. Fold her up nicely. There we go. Kind of spreading that lemon oil around. Most classical guitarists do not play this high, at least on the lower strings. But on the higher strings, this is our B note right here. So if you're doing a B scale, if you're doing your Segovia scales, you're gonna get up to that these frets up here big time. Fret 19. That's looking nice. I can use my fingernail on top of the paper towel to kind of get right across these frets here. Obviously, too, you want to try and wash your hands before you play your guitar. And that's going to prolong your string life, as well as keep all this junk off these strings. And obviously dust is going to settle in on these frets anyways if you have the guitar out. I used to just keep my guitars in the cases as much as possible to avoid all this atmospheric stuff landing on the frets and the strings and the sound hole. But it's like if you don't see it out there, you're not going to play it. So that's why I have pretty much most of my guitars on display, so I can play them whenever I want. String number and letter, so that's pretty easy. You can go this way if you want to. Doesn't matter which way you go. You go around it and then underneath. Down. One string down, next one. And obviously when you tune it, it's going to get tighter here, but that's going to hold for sure as I drop in a string. When I dropped our next string. So I'm only doing one loop. That's fine. I wait until I get to the G, the B, and the E where I do multiple loops. So we're going to go underneath it. I'm trying to hold the end tighter. So it's kind of pushed against the end of the string. And then at the end, obviously, I'm going to cut these little ends off when everything's done. All right, now for the G string. some extra string, no big deal. So I'm going to go around. Twirl once, try it twice, just like that. Boom. Done. Alright, so the B string now. What I'm doing off camera here is I tuck the other end of the string under my armpit so the thing's not flailing all over the place. Alright, so we're going to go 1, go around again, and underneath, hold that end, pull it, done. Feel free to pull it with your left hand, nice and tight, and you can see that's like super snug, right? All right, now for the E string. Get out of the way. There we go. And around. So obviously I'm not going to go around this part of the string. I'm going to go around this part right here. Underneath. And then over again. Done. Hold it down. Pull the other end. Again, you can go a few more, but you're probably good as long as it's snug. You see how these are all snug underneath here? Beautiful. And then, can't forget this. Put that back in there. Alright, so that portion's done. So the idea with this, I don't want to start tying it now if it's snug like this. So what I do is I pull it back 1 fret. I'm actually going to snip the end off. Obviously you can snip more of the end off later on. And then get my drill going. Boom. Look at that. Nice and snug. Again, I can snip that end off if I want. That is really snug there, isn't it? It's also tightening here on the other end. And I do want to do slow turns just in case this all isn't tight enough. E string done. Let's get to the A string. So imagine doing this by hand with the hand. This would take a long time. And a good indicator is you see it's cutting off. That's when you're close. And I can pull up on this to maybe even tighten it down here by the bridge. But as you can see, everything's holding nice in place. Sounds like an A. Moving on. D string. All the way. Pull it 1 fret back. Oops. Looks good to me. Cut the majority of the end off here. Start twirling. Set it into the nut. When it starts getting tight, that's when you're getting close. I'd probably recommend you not using a drill if it's your first time doing this. use the manual. And you can see these are all tight, nice and tight still. Same thing with these guys. Obviously these aren't wound, these are straight up nylon here. Same idea, pull all the way through, pull back a fret or so. Cut the end off. Start. Next string, the B string. Same thing. All the way through. Back a fret or so. Cut the end off. Away. Again, you don't have to worry about tuning them till later. There's going to be lots of tuning involved. And now, finally, for the E string, all the way through. Pull back a fret or so. Maybe you want to go an extra fret for these higher strings just in case. So they're more snug. You got multiple winds. Look at that. So if we go here to the ends, obviously this thing needs a big time tune-up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hand crank to tune them up. That sounds great. Of course, it's just going to keep getting out of tune. Alright, we can cut these little ends off now. And this is, you got to be really careful because you don't mess up the wood of the guitar. And you just got to cut just a little bit off there. Doesn't have to be anything too drastic here. Oh, maybe some people like this stuff hanging out here. No big deal. Thank you, fingernail. Oops, I skipped one. I skipped the G. Plus, if there's any mishaps, you have a lot of winds up there. And you could probably restring the one string if something here fails a little bit. You'll have enough winds up here to restring it. Kind of an E chord. And there you have it. Again, you can snip off these little guys too. All right, that concludes our classical guitar restring. Good luck with your classical guitar restring on your own. And until next time, enjoy your playing.